Now, some of you might be saying that it was lazy of me to make the Raw versus SmackDown scoring a tie this week, but honestly, neither show really excited me all that much. I actually held off on my No Mercy review because I wanted to see how they would follow it up on SmackDown. And honestly, they didn't follow it up in any kind of meaningful way. So personally, I could have just done the review right after the pay-per-view, or right after I saw the pay-per-view on Monday night, and it would have been exactly the same. My feelings would have remained unchanged. But so yeah, Raw SmackDown, no winner this week. It's a tie, but the score remains unchanged. SmackDown is still in the lead. So that said, there is a lot of stuff to go over this week in the crazy world of professional wrestling. I will start with No Mercy, the latest SmackDown pay-per-view, and I will say I enjoyed the show. I thought it was overall solid. The only problem with it, or the main problem with it, because it wasn't, I won't say it was a great show by any means, but the major problem with it was the ordering of the matches. Not that they started with the WWE title match. I thought that was very interesting, and I thought that was pretty daring, and it made me think that they were going to close with they were going to close with the more emotionally impactful match, which was the IC title match. And that's what they should have done. I feel like Miz and Ziggler should have gotten the main event spot, and I thought, oh man, what a daring move that is. Ziggler and Miz had the best story going into it, had the highest stakes, and this would be very good for the Intercontinental title. It would be very good for Miz and Ziggler in building their credibility as main event stars. So, yeah, by all means, close with the IC title match. Let them do it. And they didn't do that. They closed with Orton and Bray, and to me, once the IC title match happened, the show was basically over. And that was, if you're not going to close with the WWE title match, which again, I don't have a problem with that, I would even argue they probably could have gotten away with not having a WWE title match if the IC title match was emotionally charged as it was. But, with having so many fucking pay-per-views now, it's like, guys, you can take a break from having WWE title matches. I think we'll be fine. But it's, but yeah, I feel like the IC title match should have closed the show, and anything that came after it was just kind of forgettable filler, with the exception of the return at the end. But I guess I'll just go over the card now, and forgive me if I don't get the exact order of the matches right, but I am a few days removed from this pay-per-view, so my memory's a little fuzzy. But we opened up the show with the WWE title triple threat match, AJ Styles versus John Cena versus Dean Ambrose, which was very shocking, very surprising, and turned out to be a hell of an opener. Not necessarily the greatest match ever or match of the year, but as far as triple threats go, I thought it was nice, action-packed, showed off, just how good AJ Styles is. Fuck, that dude can do almost anything. And AJ retained, which I wanted, so that was good. And I thought was the wisest move for this. And AJ's like the one guy who keeps getting by John Cena, which is great. And ultimately that's going to end, but at least it's not the typical John Cena format where John will lose the first one, but then win like 50 in a row, like he did to Rusev, or even or Kevin Owens. That was another one. Ryback even. Their first match was a draw, and then Cena won all the rematches. So it's like, there's just, that's just no fun when you do that over and over again. But AJ's like the one guy that can get over on Cena, it seems, and that's great. And ultimately, Cena's going to beat him at some point, but at least they got some mileage out of it. They're making the Cena fans earn like the desire to want to see Cena beat somebody, and that's a good thing. So, and if you're an AJ fan like me, you're just enjoying the gravy train while it keeps chugging along. So yeah, I did enjoy the WWE title match. It was not the first time a WWE title match has opened a pay-per-view. I remember they did that one pay-per-view. I want to say it was No Mercy when Cena had to drop the title due to injury, and they had to open it up with Orton and Triple H for the title. And that was that stupid pay-per-view where Triple H had to defend the title against Umaga, beat him, and then he had to defend it against Orton again in the main event. So by the time it was all over, Orton looked like shit compared to Triple H. Even though Orton won in the end, it's like he looked like a useless piece of shit by the time it was over. It's like, well, that's Triple H booking for you. But anyway, really enjoyed the triple threat. I thought it was very good, especially considering that it's AJ's first title defense. So you're thinking, it's like, okay, granted it's Cena, so Cena always skews things, but you're thinking it's like, okay, I mean, it's AJ's first title defense. He's not going to drop the belt. And sure enough, he didn't. So, but yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable opener, and I wish that the decision to have the WWE title open up the show would have created a far more interesting main event. And I'll get to that when I talk about Bray versus Orton and Ziggler versus Miz. But in any case, I thought the WWE title match was very good. Next up was Carmella versus Nikki Bella. Match was okay. I like the feud. I like that Carmella turned heel, and they gave her a reason to turn heel. It's like, look, I was in my hometown, and then Nikki comes back out of nowhere and beats me in my hometown and humiliates me. So it's like, it doesn't have to be like the most complicated reason on the planet, but at least it's something I can sink my teeth into. It's like something I can buy. It's like, okay, Carmella feels humiliated and is just taking her frustrations out on Nikki for perceived, slights or humiliations or whatever, and that's all fine. Match itself was, whatever. Nikki went over, which, I probably, my mindset. I probably would have had Carmella go over just to have the heel continue their heat, and ultimately give Nikki something to pursue, because they're, based on what they did on SmackDown, they're clearly doing a rematch at some point. So, it's. I would have had the heel go over first and then set up the rematch where the face goes over. But that's just me. That's my old school mindset. I believe next was the tag title match, Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Usos. Match was fine. Again, I probably would have had the Usos go over. I feel like Heath Slater and Rhino had their big feel-good moment title win, and Heath Slater got his contract, and everybody was happy. But with the Usos recently turning heel and American Alpha, a potential big title match with them, I feel like it'd probably be better if they put the belts on the Usos and then eventually build up to Usos versus American Alpha down the road for the titles. And I'm sure we'll get there at some point, but I would have probably put the belts on the Usos now, give them a few title wins under their belt, while on the other side building up American Alpha to eventually face them, and then you get the big tag title match at the Royal Rumble or something, and maybe even WrestleMania. But again, that's just the way my brain works. But the match was fine for what it was. I very much like the Usos more as heels than I did as baby faces. I mean, in addition to having the stink of Roman Reigns all over them, there was also the problem that they were becoming an act that really got lockstepped into just doing the same thing over and over again. It got to a point where it's like, okay, if you see one Usos match, you've seen them all, and that's never a good thing. The Dudley Boys got into that setup multiple times in their career. I mean, I remember there was a point where I literally felt like I could set a watch to the Dudley Boys matches. Like, I could almost call it spot for spot. They got that predictable and that repetitive. But, yeah, the Usos were getting into that, so I think the heel turn has really freshened them up greatly, and I think it's a good thing. So, there was that match. I believe next was Baron Corbin versus Jack Swagger, which, again, was okay. I like that they keep Corbin winning. I like that they keep Corbin strong. I don't think Jack Swagger's the best opponent for him, because Swagger's been so devalued and so underpushed and jobbed out that Corbin beating him doesn't really feel like a big deal. I mean, to me, if you're going to do that match, you might as well just have Corbin squash him, or you build up some credibility for Swagger, and they didn't do either of those things. So this just kind of felt like a flat match, but whatever. Right guy went over, but there's not a whole lot else to say other than that. And next up, I believe, was the IC title match, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz. With Dolph Ziggler's career on the line, he would retire if he didn't win the Intercontinental title from Miz. I kind of thought that maybe they would go for an ending where Miz gets himself disqualified, and because Ziggler didn't win the IC title, he would use that as like a justification for Ziggler having to retire. I thought maybe they would go that route with it, which would have been interesting, but I'll just say it right now. This might be as far as main roster WWE goes, not overall, not for wrestling as a whole, but for main roster WWE, this might be my match of the year. It was, again, for a match that had absolutely no business being as interesting as it was. They created a great setup with Dolph. He had to put something on the line. They raised the stakes. And you got some really great promos out of both of them that really sold the importance of this and really sold Dolph as the sympathetic lead in this whole story, and built Miz greatly as the heel. You wanted to see Dolph beat him, and these are the type of things that I like about pro wrestling. And you look at the other side of the aisle, you look at Raw, and you've got this Rusev-Roman Reigns feud going that I didn't like when they first started. It started because Rusev and Lana got married, and Roman Reigns felt the need to rain on their parade, and that somehow makes Roman the babyface. And then it's just been this endless back and forth for months, and it's like, I don't even care anymore. Like, I didn't care in the first place, and now they're putting them in Hell in a Cell, and it's like, guys, I don't care. It's like, can we please stop this? I don't care. And I'm going to get to Raw later, but, yeah, that's the stuff that you see in Miz and Ziggler, that's the stuff I like. Throwing two guys in a cage when I don't care about what they're fighting over and I don't care about the feud, and I've already seen the match 3-4 times already, I just don't care. And you can't, putting them inside the Hell in a Cell is not going to make me care. But you take two guys that have been the victims of bad booking in the past, and, you know, questionable career choices. My favorite one was when they tried to turn Miz face. That was adorable. It's like, yeah, I can't think of a guy that works worse as a babyface than Miz. It's like the guy was born to be a heel. But anyway, two guys that have struggled in recent years trying to get some kind of momentum, some kind of a push. Miz has really found his niche on SmackDown to where he's really had a bit of a career renaissance and like a big career resurgence to where he's one of the top acts on the show now. And now they're gearing the stories in a way where he's clearly the heel and he's good at it, and they built enough heat on him. He's been the IC champion, I believe, since the night after Mania. That's been uninterrupted, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it's... they've done great with Miz, and Dolph, who's been struggling to find some kind of a path, they finally found this thing. It's like, oh, Dolph loses a lot, so let's make him the sympathetic favorite, and they worked the story that way to reflect that. And I think including the Spirit Squad was really cool and clever and a nice way to reference Dolph's past and, you know, bring some other faces into the show. And, yeah, so the build-up was very good. The story was very good. And the match delivered because of that. And what I really liked about this match is that it wasn't the typical Dolph Ziggler match that you've seen for the last few years, where he'll hit the Famouser, he'll hit the zigzag, he'll hit 2 or 3 other big moves, and it'll just be like a finisher fest. But it's not really a finisher fest because he never beats anybody with those moves. They didn't really do the match that way. They let Dolph be the one to get those big finisher kickouts because he's the one that has all the drama centered on him, because if he loses, he's gone, and the fans don't want that. So anytime it got close to where it looked like Dolph was going to lose, especially when Maurice hit him with the hairspray, and I believe Miz hit him with the skull-crushing finale like twice. I mean, like, oh my God, Dolph's lost, and he didn't, and he kicked out. And that's what makes the match exciting, where you honestly believe that. To me, the false finishes work best if you actually believe that the 3 count could actually be coming, because too many matches now, you know, they'll do the 1-2 kick out, but they're usually for moves that I have in no way, shape, or form expect to end the match, because they never end the match. So, and I see them every match. So, but here they did a really good job of working the false finishes in a way to make me believe that, oh my God, Dolph's going to lose. And it had me on the edge of my seat. And that is very good. And that's the art of pro wrestling at its greatest. And then when Dolph won and overcame all the odds like Maurice and the Spirit Squad and any dirty tactic that Miz had, it made it all the more satisfying when Dolph beat him. And it was just a great moment, great title change, great match. It was beautiful all around. It was just great. And it was the best match of the show. Like I said, might be my main roster WWE match of the year. I can't think of too many other ones. Cena, AJ at SummerSlam. Maybe a couple of the Cena or AJ Roman Reigns matches. That's about it. I honestly can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I think Dolph and Miz might be, again, sticking with main roster WWE, might be the main roster WWE match of the year. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. It should have been the main event, because nothing that came after this was worth anything, unfortunately. Next up was Alexa Bliss versus Naomi, a match that was made when Becky Lynch had to be pulled from the pay-per-view due to some kind of injury, and best wishes to Becky Lynch, whatever's wrong with her. Hopefully she comes back bigger, better, stronger, and better than ever. But we didn't get a women's title match because of that. And I mean, I would have been tempted to just have Alexa Bliss win the title via forfeit. I would have been tempted to pull that move again. I like putting heels over. It's just how I am. But but anyway, they did this match. I would have had Alexa go over just to keep her strong because eventually she's gonna get that title match with Becky. They had Naomi go over, and then they had her go over Carmella on SmackDown, which tells me that Naomi's probably going to be next after Alexa Bliss gets her title shot. But whatever, the match was whatever. It was one of those. We didn't get the Becky Alexa Bliss match, so this definitely felt like a step down. No knock on Naomi. It's just an unfortunate situation that happens from time to time in pro wrestling, and unfortunately, we got an unforgettable match, or we got a forgettable match because of it. And speaking of forgettable matches. Main event, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. I can't believe they closed with this. And this is the exact opposite of Ziggler Miz, where they've been doing this storyline, I use that term loosely, with Orton and Bray. I have absolutely no idea what they're fighting over. Like, I don't know why Bray is targeting Orton. I don't know why this feud is even happening, which is typical of Bray Wyatt feuds, unfortunately. Why did he target Chris Jericho? I don't know. Why did he target John Cena? I guess aside from the fact that Cena's the biggest star, I guess that's the reason, but half of what Bray says doesn't make any sense anyway, so it's... So yeah, I just didn't care about this feud at all, and the fact that they closed with this match just shocked me. And you could argue that Luke Harper's return was a good enough reason to close because you're ending on a surprise. And I like Luke Harper. I think he's a talented guy. I think like the rest of the Wyatt family, he should be much better than he is but they've just booked that group into oblivion. It goes back to WrestleMania 8. Savage and Flair should have closed WrestleMania 8. But the justification for not closing it was that they were going to bring Warrior out at the end to interfere in the Hogan-Sid match. Luke Harper is no Ultimate Warrior, and I'm not saying that based on talent, and I'm saying that based on star power. Ultimate Warrior returning was a huge surprise and made for a great ending to WrestleMania, despite Hogan-Sid not being the best main event. Luke Harper is not exactly a huge big name or a huge star or anything, and he's just going back to the exact same spot he was in before, which was Bray Wyatt's lackey. So his return, while it's nice that he's back, it wasn't a big enough shock or headline to warrant that match closing the pay-per-view. Again, if you were going to go with the daring option of opening up with the WWE title match, to me, the IC title match should have closed the pay-per-view. And if you wanted to be different, you wanted to be cool, that should have been the match to close with. And this match was just, it was weak. It was just forgettable. Bray Wyatt has lost almost all intrigue at this point, and it's sad because he should be much better and should be in a much better position than he's in. But if there's anybody that's been fucked over by bad booking, it's Bray Wyatt. I mean, that guy should have been one of the top stars of the last few years, and even though he went over it in this match, it's just his storylines aren't interesting, and they didn't get enough out of the Wyatt family. They didn't get nearly as much as they should have out of the Wyatt family, and it's a shame. And it is what it is. So yeah, No Mercy. 2 really strong matches, especially the IC title match. Really liked it. Rest of the card, take it or leave it. But you did get 2 strong matches out of it. I would have liked the show more if they had closed with the IC title match. I think that would have been the way to go. Food for thought next time they do try to do something like that, where they don't close with the world title match, which I'm an advocate for. I've said for years that you don't have to have the world title match on every single pay-per-view, and you don't have to have it close every single time. You can have a tag title match close. You can have the women's title match close, or the mid-card title match close, or a huge grudge match close. You don't even need the world title on the card if the match is strong enough to carry the spotlight of being in the main event. But that's just me. But in any case, going over the rest of what happened in wrestling this week, I watched a bunch of shows. Got caught up on TNA post-Bound for Glory, and why does TNA... They have this habit of doing this where they'll build up to a title match, the champion will retain, and then the heel champion will lose the title on the very next Impact. It's like, I kind of feel like the title change should happen at the pay-per-view where you reward the people that actually spent their money and reward them with the title change, especially since EC3 had been built up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and now Eddie Edwards is just the champion just because. And it's like, okay. That's an odd decision, but all right, whatever. It's not my show. So not a fan of that. Raw this week, they're building up to Hell in a Cell, and they've already set 3 Hell in a Cell matches for the pay-per-view. And, okay, first of all, one of them is Rusev and Roman Reigns, which fuck that. One of them is Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, which I'm not feeling that feud as a Hell in a Cell worthy feud. Like, to me, Hell in a Cell should be like the culmination of a storyline, or like just the feud is so heated that their heat just can't be contained anymore, and they just have to lock it inside the cell and just go at each other like rabid dogs. Charlotte and Sasha have been working with each other for so long that I would be okay with them getting Hell in a Cell. My problem is that it's 3 Hell in a Cell matches, and that's just overkill, and I don't like it. I've said it before. It's the same problem I have with Lockdown, which has 8 fucking cage matches. And thank you so much, TNA, for starting that goddamn trend with the gimmick pay-per-views. It's like you ruin everything. I'm just kidding. But yeah, not a fan of having more than 1 Hell in a Cell, because to me, again, the gimmicks should be special, and the gimmicks should be used to be a natural extension of the story and feel like more of a payoff to the story rather than just, oh, hey, we're selling a pay-per-view and we're going to put these guys in a cage. And, yeah, especially Roman and Rusev, it's like, guys, I don't care. Like, I really just don't, I don't give a shit. I didn't give a shit at SummerSlam. I didn't give a shit at the next pay-per-view where you did it. What was that? Clash of Champions? And I don't give a shit now. Can we please stop? Pretty please? Pretty please? But, whatever. So yeah, that was my big takeaway from Raw. They did Jericho and Rollins in the main event, which was fine. But they put in the gimmick that if Jericho won, he would get added to the main event, and he lost. So there was no point. It didn't amount to anything. So whatever. SmackDown this week, like I said, was pretty forgettable. Actually, tonight's Wednesday. I got done watching NXT and Lucha Underground. NXT had a lot of interesting things happen. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is continuing, and I really like that idea for the tournament, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Glorious 10, unfortunately, did not go very far in the tournament. I love Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger as a team. I wish they had gotten more out of that. But Bobby Roode immediately turned on him and walked away when he saw that they were fighting the new team of Sanity, who, I'm sorry, I didn't catch all their names. Nikki Rose is the girl. Alexander Wolf was one of the tag team guys, and there was another Fuller or something. I didn't catch his full name, but yeah, it's a new stable that looks eerily similar to the Aces and Eights. I'm sorry to make that TNA comparison, although the TNA comparison becomes even more apparent when the leader unmasked it turned out to be Eric Young. Which in a weird way, it's kind of like Aces and Eights done right in a way, because Aces and Eights, a lot of the build-up to it was really good until they started unmasking people, and it was like D'Lo Brown and Mike Knox and Doc Gallows and Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff, and it's like, those guys are lame, and it's like, or those guys aren't really big stars, so why put them in a mask and make them a surprise? And that was the main problem with the Aces and Eights. It was all great until you found out who was under the masks. And here with Sanity, it's a group that very much looks like Aces and Eights, but they already unmasked everybody, so we don't have that kind of sword of Damocles, or whatever that term is, hanging over their heads. And Eric Young is the leader of the group, which again brings about all sorts of TNA comparisons. But I thought their introduction was very good, and we're getting a Ty Dillinger Bobby Roode feud out of it too. So all is well. I also thought the ending with Nakamura and Joe was very cool, where they've been doing this neat little thing where Joe was coming out and beating up members of the NXT roster. Of course, it started when he beat up Nakamura and injured him, and demanded that Regal either give him a match with Nakamura for the title, or give him the title itself. And he was beating up guys on the roster at random intervals. which was actually nice. It made for a nice little piece of unpredictability on the show because it's like, all right, Joe's going to come out, but you don't know when and during what match. It was because it was never the same guys twice or anything like that. It was always, and this week it was during the Wesley Blake Buddy Murphy match, and Nakamura came back and attacked Joe, and they had a huge brawl where they beat up security guards and fought all over the place, and I thought it came off really well. So a nice payoff to the angle that they've been doing with Joe, and it's undoubtedly going to lead to a rematch at the next pay-per-view, or next TakeOver special, I should say. So, I enjoyed this week's edition of NXT, per usual. I mean, normally they have that slow but steady, kind of pace to the show and the way they build up things, and it normally pays off beautifully at the TakeOver specials. But this was a slightly more exciting show because they did some things like the Joe Nakamura stuff and the debut of Sanity. So, good show of NXT this week. Also enjoyed Lucha Underground, which is typical. I thought Sexy Star and Jack Evans had a really good match for the Gift of the Gods Championship with interference from both the Trios Champions and Worldwide Underground. We also had the main event of Pentagon Dark taking on Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Rey Mysterio Jr. in a triple threat. It was supposed to be Pentagon versus El Dragon Azteca, but you had an angle going throughout the show where Chavo attacked El Dragon Azteca and sent him to the hospital in a very well shot backstage attack where, again, Lucha Underground taking advantage of their unique style. Chavo attacked El Dragon Azteca with a steel chair, which is fairly common in pro wrestling. I mean, we've seen that before. But they filmed it in a way that we got the POV of El Dragon Azteca as the chair was slamming into his face, which seemed even more brutal. And I was like, wow, that's actually a pretty unique way of shooting that. I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. And to make up for losing his main event, Dario ultimately put Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero in the main event against Pentagon. Pentagon won the match, which good. He needs to be built up more. And Chavo continued his assaults by going after Rey Mysterio and destroying his knee. So here we are, 2016, and Chavo Guerrero manages to be an interesting character on a wrestling show. It's like it shows just how good Lucha Underground really is when they were able to pull stuff like that off. So you also got some Famous B action, which is always fun. Son of Havoc and Masquerita Sagrada had a great entrance, actually. So, again, another very enjoyable episode of Lucha Underground. And next week, we're getting another Matanza title match thanks to Dario's Dial of Doom. So I'm looking forward to that. So good stuff all around. I watched one other wrestling-related show this week at the insistence of a friend of mine who called me up and told me, quote, "You need to watch this fucking show. It's the best thing ever for all the wrong reasons." Total Bellas. Now, keep in mind, I watched very, very little of Total Divas. Very little. I watched one episode of it, and I'm not a big reality show guy. I hate reality shows. They just annoy me, and they just expose, like, the worst of humanity in a lot of ways. And for me, a lot of the times, it's lowest common denominator bullshit, and it's like, fuck this, I hate it. And to me, when I watched Total Divas the one time, it was just the divas acting shitty, and I was like, I don't need to see them acting shitty. That's just, no thank you. I'm not interested. So, Total Divas just didn't really hold much interest for me, but my friend insisted that I watch Total Bellas, and he's like, dude, this show is fascinating. You need to watch it. And Total Bellas, after having watched the first episode, it might be my new favorite show for all the wrong reasons. And it has nothing to do with the Bellas. It has nothing to do with Daniel Bryan outside of the fact that I feel sorry for him. It has everything to do with John Cena and how this show really should be renamed. Like Total Bellas is to me is a title that almost should not apply to the show. If the show continues like in any way, shape, or form like the first episode was, the show should really be renamed Pinocchio, the John Cena story, because I feel like I'm watching John Cena attempt to act like a human being and kind of fail. It's like watching a robot or a little wooden boy try to pick up the traits of how human beings act, and he's not succeeding. And in a way, Nikki Bella is kind of his blue fairy, who's kind of like his bridge to humanity. Like his, like, I don't know. It's fascinating to watch. It's like, I don't know how much of the show is scripted. I'm jaded towards reality shows, so I just assume that they were all scripted. But if there is any truth, like even an iota of truth of what John Cena is really like in this show, then oh my god, that dude, he's either not of this earth or he has OCD, Asperger's, and autism all rolled into one. He is, oh my god, he's like a robot. He makes Sheldon look normal. It's like the amount of rules that he has for living in his home and his like very like okay, talking to the Bella's mom. It's like, you didn't make your bed. You should really go make your bed. It's like, your dog bit me. What are we going to do about this? That is unacceptable. You need to call animal control. And this really like authoritative inflection in his voice. It's like, dude, this motherfucker is downright terrifying in a lot of ways. And I feel like I'm getting a psychological character study of the WWE's biggest star and what he's really like. And it's like, this guy is fucking whack. Like, this guy's insane. It's like, what do you mean you can't turn this guy heel? He'd be the biggest heel in your fucking show. Just have him act like this all the time. He'd be fucking great. It's bizarre. Like, I could not believe what I was watching. And Nikki, like, is like, it feels like watching the show that she's scared to death of him because she's trying to, like, keep him happy 24/7. I don't even want to know what their sex life is like, or maybe I do. I don't know. Like, if I watched the two of them have sex, it would be in the same way that I would watch animals in the zoo. Like, it wouldn't be for any kind of gratification on my end. It would just be like an examination of how human is John Cena compared to the rest of us. I'm like, how does he have sex compared to other human beings? Because I would imagine it would be very stiff, robotic. I'm going to assume that maybe he rolls dice to determine what position he uses that particular day, or maybe he has it set that he only uses certain positions on certain days of the week. I have no idea. I don't know. But the John Cena that I saw on Total Bellas was a fascinating individual, and if the show continues anything like this, I'm going to enjoy it for perverse reasons, because this is like... And I never thought John Cena would ever be the reason that I would watch a show, but if I'm going to continue watching Total Bellas, it will be entirely because of John Cena, because I'm just fascinated by this robot man that's living among us. It's like the Vision is more human than him. I mean, fuck. Gort from the Day the Earth Stood Still is more human than him. The Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz is more human than him. It's bizarre. I always used to joke with my friends that John Cena is a genetic experiment, like Vince McMahon grew him in a lab somewhere. That might actually be true, based on what I'm seeing on this show, because it's like, the dude, like, he's just so weird. He's just so fucking weird. Like, if I'm Daniel Bryan, or literally anybody else in that situation, if I'm a fly on the wall in that house, and I'm there the first night, and I just see John Cena running down this list of rules, like, there are gators here. You go near them, you deserve what you fucking get. We will have coffee every morning. We will have fancy dinners once a week, typically Wednesdays. We will... And just all these fucking rules, I'd have been like, no, I'm out of here. Bye. Just fucking hell. But oh my god, did I enjoy it. For perverse, cynical reasons, but I enjoyed it for what it was. So, if you want, like... And again, I don't know how much of the show is scripted, but if you want a look at what John Cena the person might actually be like, watch that show and then be afraid. Be very, very afraid. So, that's all I have for the week of wrestling. Couple of updates that I want to get out there as far as my videos go. Goldberg will be returning to the WWE. Despite my pleadings for them not to do it, they are going to do Goldberg versus Lesnar 2. It's all but confirmed. Actually, I heard that Daniel Bryan and Renee Young accidentally confirmed it on Talking Smack. But, yeah, I don't like that match. But, because Goldberg's coming back, I've decided to amend my classic match reviews for this month. My original plan was to do... an Undertaker spooky gimmick match in spirit of Halloween. Like, Buried Alive match. casket match, Inferno match, whatever, like a a spooky Undertaker gimmick match, and that was what I was going to review. But since Goldberg's come back, it's like, fuck it, I'll just do 2 matches. I'll do one Undertaker match for Halloween, and I'll do a Goldberg match. The poll for said Goldberg match will be appearing on my Twitter. The link to my Twitter is down below, so vote in the poll and have fun with that. The 3 match selections will be, and you will get to pick the match that I review, obviously. The 3 Goldberg matches that will be available on the poll will be his match with Hogan from Nitro 98, where he won the title, his match with Diamond Dallas Page from Halloween Havoc 1998, and his match with Kevin Nash from Spring Stampede 1999. So those are the 3 matches I've selected. And they will be up on the poll tonight, and you can go ahead and vote, and I will review that Goldberg match as part of my Classic Match Review series, and then the Undertaker Classic Match Review will be done next, and will probably be posted at the end of the month. So there's that. A couple of other things. Next video I'm doing will be my review of Shin Godzilla. I'm seeing it Saturday at noon, and I will probably have my review up later that evening. I'm hoping I will be in a very happy mood. I've heard many positive reviews of the movie without being spoiled, which is good. Godzilla fans appear to be very, very happy with it, so that's a good sign. Godzilla. It just makes me happy. Also, I am getting my new laptop in a couple days, and hopefully, the current laptop I'm using, I've literally been using since I started making videos. So, even though I have an HD camera and everything, it doesn't sync up well. Like it's giving me problems, let's say that. So, I'm getting a new laptop this weekend, so maybe after the Shin Godzilla review, or maybe the Shin Godzilla review will be the first one. I'm not sure yet. I'll finally go back to making HD videos and higher quality videos, and they'll be better. And hopefully, having a newer laptop and having better video editing software. I'm actually getting Adobe Premiere, so hopefully that'll all make this process a little bit better, and I can shell out higher quality videos to you guys. So be on the lookout for that. Also, one thing I wanted to bring up. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be like for the next couple of weeks, so it might interfere with the videos that I'm making. My sister is getting married at the end of the month, and I'm going to be a groomsman in the wedding. Congratulations to my sister and my soon-to-be new brother-in-law, who's a great guy. I love him to death. And I'm more than happy to be a groomsman, but because I'm playing a role in the wedding, obviously, that's going to take up some of my time because I have to be available for certain things. We've already had the bachelor party, so that's already out of the way. But things like the rehearsal dinner and just helping my sister prepare in certain ways. I'm also family, so I'm kind of like doubly involved in this, both as a groomsman and as a family member. So they're getting married on the 29th, and we're going to be doing a few things leading up to that. So I don't know, how much time I'm going to have to make videos in the next couple of weeks because of that. But that's just something that's coming up. So if my video content has reduced for whatever reason, that's probably why. And, it's always nice to have a good reason to get away from certain things. It's like, it's a wedding. It's a happy time. It's a happy time. And I'm more than happy to participate in it. I'm just saying, it might cut into my video making schedule a little bit, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, so I covered a lot in this video. Hopefully you all found it entertaining and informative, like all of my videos are. But in any case, that is all I have for you now. Like I said, Shin Godzilla will be the next review, and then God knows what. Probably Goldberg match review will probably be next, and then whatever that, sky's the limits. But yeah, that's all I have for you now. So until then, I will see you all later.